Hey guys, Jim here, and holy shit, this is going to be a lot of fun. What we're taking a look at here today is my new Deadpool theme knife by my good friends Elliot and Chris Williamson over at Ferrum Forge. Now, this is based off of the new Masterblaster model, which is a collaboration with Les George, another one of my absolute favorite knife makers in the game. And this actually, this was actually a long time coming. This goes back to, as I'm looking now at my text messages, to September 16th. And I kind of shot a little idea at Elliot for a new theme knife. And we've done theme knives before. You guys might remember this bad boy right here, which is the Mandalorian Mako, my Boba Fett knife. And he knocked it out of the park. Super slick, super cool. And the idea was not to just put a bunch of Boba Fett shit on the knife. It was to make a knife that that he could envision that Boba Fett himself would have carried. So the same theme followed through here. There's not a whole bunch of hokey shit just stuck all over the knife. It was more of what would Deadpool actually carry, and how would we make it match the theme. So this was actually the text message that I had sent to him, and I said, "Hey, if you still feel like making me a knife, I've got an idea." And immediately, challenge accepted. And then he got right to work on it. Yep, he was very, very excited about it, as was I, because I love Deadpool. I just think it's one of those rare things out there where it's, you know, it's gone obviously very, very commercial and everybody knows about him, but still pulls no punches. I love the fact that when the movie came out, they made it an R-rated movie. They didn't give a shit about following in the footsteps of other superhero films, and they didn't mind, you know, dropping the F-bomb and doing this and that and being super, super violent. And I had to have something to commemorate that. What I didn't care was what model Elliot chose to do it in, because I pretty much love everything Elliot does, and this goes back way back in time. I've known Elliot since before the Pretium was released, but the first knife I actually got from him was the number 100 of 100 Pretium that he completely customized and made as a one-off for me. And that, unfortunately for him, kind of set the precedent where whenever I want to get something, it's like, hey, how crazy and one-off can you make it? And this one really is fantastic, and it took a lot more work than even I had anticipated. One of the first things I want to show you, though, is just how crazy smooth this thing really is. It takes no effort whatsoever once you get past the detent for it to close on itself. Again, I have to kind of mention this in every video. That's not how I close my knives. Obviously, I close them just like you do. But it's the only way that I can really show you, without you standing here, just how smooth and fast that is. I'm going to get this out of the way right now because it's going to end up getting in my way. But I wanted to give a quick shout out for those of you that are on Instagram. There is a dude out there. His Instagram name is nerdy_EDC, and he makes these badass valet trays. He made this Deadpool tray for me. He was already making them before, and I'd seen it, and since I knew I was getting this, I hit him up one day. I'm like, dude, I really need one of these around the time that my knife arrives, and he obliged very, very quickly, and it's really, really awesome. So if you get a chance to check this out, he does Punisher skulls, he does all kinds of different themes, and I'm fairly certain he'll make up something completely custom for you as well. Alright, so down to the knife. Let's talk about the actual knife, and then we'll talk about the Deadpool shit and all that stuff. So what you're looking at is about 8.35 inches in overall length with a 3.66 inch Wharncliffe style blade. Very aggressive Wharncliffe, and I love the extra clip that's been done here at the top, the swedge, really, really nicely done. The large cutout, which, yes, you can manipulate with your thumb. Oh, if you can get past the detent, you certainly can. And obviously he's done his special coatings on this to reflect the color scheme that I wanted. Obviously you cannot take 6Al4V titanium and make it red. So this is obviously all coatings and done extremely well. As it turns out, red coatings are a son of a bitch. And it also likes to bubble up a lot and cause a lot of issues. So this knife was actually done more than once to get the finish properly. So again, my huge thanks to Elliot and to Chris. Chris does a lot of the finishing work that you see on all these amazing knives. And I know they both really busted their ass on this. It took 3 times longer than they anticipated. And I thank you guys for that hard work. Inside is the new ceramic version of the Hoback rolling detent, which is why there is almost no friction on that blade as it opens and closes. And I don't know if I can get the lighting in there. There it is. There is the HRD right there. So if you haven't seen any of my Ferrum Forge videos in the past and don't know about it, the Hoback rolling detent, what that is, instead of having just a standard steel detent ball that is press fit into the lock bar, which obviously is pushing against the blade, creating friction, what is done is it is actually a rolling ball bearing. So it actually does spin and rotate as the blade glides against it. And that reduces the friction to a great degree, allowing you to still maintain a good strong lock bar pressure without it pushing on the blade and adding even more friction and slowing it down. It has now been recently upgraded to a ceramic ball instead of the hardened steel ball from the past. They are using a D2 steel lock bar insert, so you have a steel on steel lockup, which of course is a fantastic way to do things, and Elliot has had great success with this for many, many years. And it has their integral built over travel stop, which you can see right there. So it prevents you from overextending the titanium lock bar and wearing it out. Inside is cage thrust bearings right behind, the Deadpool pivot, yes. And that really is the only thing on here that signifies this as specifically being a Deadpool themed knife. Instead of having a whole bunch of hokey shit put on there, it was something very simple, very classy. I think Elliot did a great job. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down, and I want to do it after I did this video, just in case I screwed everything up. I'm going to go in there with a little bit of either whiteout or white nail polish and just put a little dot of white in the eyes just to make it a little bit more true. But very cool. It was actually a bitch for us to decide which of the many Deadpool logos to use because, I mean, you just Google it. You just Google Deadpool logo. You see the original artwork. You see how the artwork has changed a little bit throughout the years in the comics. And then obviously the movie, which is what you saw on that valet tray, that's more of the movie logo. So I kind of wanted to go with this more simplistic one here. I dug it. I thought it was cool. Got the point across. And then you obviously have the deep red, the blood red, and the black. Another interesting and unique thing, this is something that you've heard me mention on almost every maker's videos, but I have taken particular joy in sticking it in Elliot's rib a little bit, that he really, really, really needs jimping on his flipper tabs, because what he likes to do is make an ergonomic flipper tab that doesn't have sharp corners that cuts the fuck out of your finger and digs into the pad of your finger. But that ends up sometimes being a little bit too slick and a little bit too smooth. So I begged him, I said, please, for the love of God, jimp it. And he didn't just jimp it, he went above and beyond just to stick it in my rib. Look at that, look at all that work that he did in there. Very fancy milling where he left slight edges on the milling, and that gives you phenomenal traction. I really, really, really hope that this is something that we see a lot in the future from Ferrum Forge. I really dig it. It makes this knife so much easier to flip. It is a pure joy. Love the pocket clip. Nice, fully sculpted titanium pocket clip. Very easy to get in and out of the pocket. You see the chamfering done all the way around the edges of the frame. Now let's talk about, by the way, let's get away from the Deadpool theme for a minute and talk about the Masterblaster in general. Basically, Elliot came up with the initial design of the knife, and then sent it to Les George to completely reconfigure and mold into the final design that you see here. Elliot has a great fondness for Les. He's kind of one of his knife-making heroes. At least that's the way he describes it. And I kind of feel the same way. I've owned a couple of Les's knives. I've only done, I think, one video, and that was on a Rockeye way back, by about 4 years ago. I love Les's no-nonsense, no bullshit approach to design. Everything is designed with EDC in mind, with tactical use in mind, with everyday cutting in mind, and ease of carry, even though his knives tend to be sometimes a little bit larger. Even the VECP, which was based off of the Rockeye, you know, being kind of a mid-tech version of the Rockeye, that was still a pretty big knife for what it was, but the Rockeye was a big fucking knife, and it was awesome. And just Les he's just a super cool dude. So to see Elliot and to see Les do this project together, truly amazing. And they came up with something that was wildly different for both of them. Les has never done a Wharncliffe design. How cool is that? So what you've got is something rather unique and affordable when you look at the prices of Elliot's Customs and you look at the prices of Les George's Customs. You realize that the price of $600 to $700 is actually really affordable. Again, I have to put the clarification there because there's always a troll in the comments that goes, "She says $600 to $700 is affordable." Bah! $600 to $700 is affordable compared to Elliot's Customs and to Les George's Customs. I'm not saying it's affordable if you eat Burger King 3 times a day and you carry a $20 Walmart knife. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I'm not knocking you for it. Enjoy what you enjoy. But if you're buying into custom-made knives, this is affordable. Okay, now that we have the disclaimer out of the way, we shall continue. You basically have 4 different variations that you can buy into. Obviously not the Deadpool, this is a one-off and he's never going to make it again, but the variations change in the frames. Number 1, you have the Saber, which kind of has a lightsaber handle theme going on. Kind of carries on with the Star Wars themed knives that Elliot's been doing. Then you have the Slab, which is just a standard flat slab-sided titanium frame lock with chamfered edges. And a lot of people are going to appreciate that because it is that basic, clean, everyday look and something that if you wanted to pimp and modify yourself, you have a blank canvas. Then you have the Hex, which has sections of hexagonal-shaped markings. And then there was another section done up here, kind of looked like a bolt pattern. Very cool. And then this one, which they call the Flying V. Or as a buddy of mine actually mentioned on Instagram, he's like, you know, if it was a real Deadpool knife, it would actually have a cocaine groove on it. Well, there is actually a fairly substantial groove right there. I think we could take a bump off that. We could try. Anyway, we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is the Flying V design here. So it's got kind of a split handle design. And when you're doing, whether it be anodizing or the coatings, it gives a great platform for contrast. I really dig this. Looks fucking fantastic. I love everything about it. I think that at the price of $600 to $700, depending on one of those 4 options, you've got a great deal. Now, obviously, the price goes up if you request ridiculous, crazy shit like I do. But it's a great value in that mid-tech to custom league that Ferrum Forge has been running in lately. As far as the size in the hand, for me, it is absolutely perfect. You guys might remember the last video I did on a Ferrum Forge, which was the Scepter, which was a much tinier knife, and I generally don't like tiny little knives, but the way he shaped it, it was actually really nice to hold. But this is much more my size. Once again, you've got a choil up here so that you can choke up and do finer cutting tasks. As mentioned already, the action is utterly amazing. Really, truly is. And especially when you factor in that this is a coated knife. All of the frame is coated, all of the blade is coated. And you have to realize that that changes a lot for the tolerances on the knife, yet he has still kept this functioning every bit as perfectly as a plain knife would be. And you're not dealing with, again, because of the HRD, you're not dealing with the additional friction that comes from a ball bearing rubbing across this surface. This surface, while very, very smooth, is not going to be as smooth as stone-washed steel or polished steel or satin steel. So as it's running right behind where the frame sits here. As it's rubbing on there, no friction, almost no friction whatsoever. Just a fantastic look and feel. Give you some close-up looks here. Beautiful edge as always. One of the things that I've always admired about Elliot is no matter how crazy or how ornate a design may be, he never loses sight of the actual functionality of a fucking knife. It is always ridiculously sharp. It is always going to be useful. It's always going to have fantastic steel. And I love 20CV. I think it's a fantastic steel. I'm not really a steel snob, but you'll hear a lot of people talk about different steels. Now it's got to do this, now it's got to do that. There's really no downside to 20CV. And I discussed this in pretty fair detail in one of my recent Ferrum Forge videos this year. So there it is, guys. That is the Deadpool knife. I knew that if I didn't get this done quickly, somebody on YouTube was going to kill me because I've had a lot of requests already for it. Today's Thanksgiving. Supposed to be spending time with my family and playing with a turkey and shoving spices and stuff up its asshole. But instead, I'm sitting here with you shoving this knife in the camera, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Look forward to a great 2017. I just returned back from the New York Custom Knife Show with a bag full of goodies. So there's going to be lots of cool videos coming up and more photography. Check me out again on Instagram. My name did change. It's no longer at Jim Skelton TV. It's at Jim Skelton Knives. Very simple, very easy to find. And I hope to spend a lot of time with you guys at upcoming shows. I'm going to be hitting pretty much every major show this year. So the next one for me is probably going to be Fort Lauderdale and then obviously the Blade Show. So I hope to run into more of you crazy motherfuckers then. Again, to Elliot, to Chris, and to Les, thank you so much for a badass overall design and a badass Deadpool themed knife. I couldn't possibly be any happier, and I'm going to carry the living shit out of this thing. I'll talk to you guys on the next video.